It's a big topic about sustainability, especially for startups in Denmark. But as Veronica said, like if you have any questions or comments on what we are going to talk about, please put them in the chat. And then also at the end, we're going to take a look at them and we're going to have a Q&A session. So if you feel like just unmuting yourself or asking a question afterwards, also that will be fine. Yes. So the agenda that we have for today is that we would like to look at a bit circularity, so circular models, what's the difference between linear models and circular models for startups, different types of design and materials that you can use and in different innovative ways so we can actually incorporate sustainability. We're going to talk about different challenges and how to get support and real world advice for your startup if you would like to start having different sustainability activities. And then what's the future looking like for circular businesses and sustainability in general. I'm very thrilled today to have our also speaker with us, Elias, who is the founder of Koala. That's a Danish brand which is transforming different materials into very beautiful, sustainable clothing designs. So hi, Elias, and thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you. Pleasure.
So we're gonna go straight into it. So first thing that we would like to actually talk about is that why in overall like circularity or sustainability and sustainable model should actually matter and why startups should even think about that. But we know that it's not about like saving the planet. It's also about just setting up a smart business. It's about building trust, reducing these long-term risks, and creating products that people actually feel good about buying afterwards. And that's what exactly actually Elias has done with his company, Koala. This is a brand that was born from just asking kind of different questions, like from the beginning, how to have like this new clothings to be more sustainable or as sustainable as the ones that we understand as secondhand even, for example. So I would like to, Elias, maybe just take a bit back from the beginning, and if you can tell us how did you have the idea for your company? How did that start at first?
Yeah, great, thank you. I was at my high school, and my teacher he told us that we should bring the clothes we had in our closet, clothes that we do not use, and we should take it with us to school. And basically, it showed how much clothing we have that is without value. So for me, that opened my eyes about the clothing industry. I wasn't personally aware of how bad it was, how many waste materials that is everywhere in our own closet, in the industry, even in the shops. Lots of clothing are just being discarded, and I was thinking, how can we use this clothing to sort of close the loop? Because the problem, as I see it, is that creating new clothing really has high demands from the nature and from the resources. So it takes lots of water because we need to grow cotton, and it's in very high temperatures, so it needs lots of water, and therefore the problem is that we need more clothing, but the clothing we don't use. So I was kind of putting the two together. That was what we tried to do, as Cici said, trying to make new clothing as sustainable as what we know as secondhand. And that was the start of it. We tried to put the two of them together in a kind of circular production.
Wow, it's a great story, and I think a very great way to start as well from the day one. Let's say that what we're talking about today, like really from the ground, and build your business actually based on this model. But in your opinion, in general, why would it be important for startups to think of circularity and like the sustainable models from the beginning, and let's say not as an add-on later on? Like, does it make it easier from the beginning? Is it harder actually to like change up your model later on, or should they consider it from day one, basically? How was it for you?
I think definitely it's a good idea to think about it day one. For us, for me, it was very hard to figure out how we even gonna do production in a circular way. In the industry, everything is just linear production. We need resources to do new clothing, and everything has been done the same way for lots of years, and therefore to kind of figure out how the concept should be, how the whole production setup should be, we had to think about circularity from the beginning. I went to Portugal to try to find a manufactory, and I was there for 10 days and visits maybe two or three manufacturers a day. And actually, all of them just said no, threw me out, and said we can't work this way. It's not the way everything is lined up. So actually, I went home and thought I didn't had a manufactory, and then I started to think different and went back, and then it worked. But imagine if I already had a brand producing products the linear way, and then I had to do the turnaround when I already had a business. I understand why it's really hard for brands that already exist to kind of switch everything up. So I would definitely say keep it in mind from the beginning.
Yeah, I think also, like, from my opinion, we work with a lot of startups as well. I can see that once especially you build up all the systems and all the ways that you actually do things and do business, and like have your different sort of production line or like logistics and so on, it is harder to change things later on. So like if you start with this mindset from the beginning, I think that it will also lead more or less the way that you do, because as you said, like if you just went with the linear model, you'll go with the typical, let's say, producers that were in Portugal or other places and just do the way that they do, because there's no different way, let's say. But I think that we always have to kind of question the status quo, because sometimes, I don't know if that's your experience in different industries, we see that people say that it's just the way that we do it, and that kind of most companies have taken it as for okay, that's how it is. Like, but I think that always we need people like you who kind of question that and be like, there should be a better and another way, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
Like,
think so too. It's important to be critical, and if I've just said, well, it can't happen, and then took a regular manufacturer and did it the normal way, then the circularity and the innovation simply would not happen. And that's not only for the clothing industry, it's a general matter. So yeah, I agree. We have to push the green agenda, and especially the circularity agenda, because you can't not just switch out one part and then it works. We have to kind of think the whole circle through, and it just takes some work, but
mhm.
um, definitely worth it, to both for your customers to tell what you do, but also for the planet, because it's so much more sustainable. It makes so much more sense than demanding resources from the nature on and on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So talking about customers, like, how do you see this circularity, like, sorry, influencing your customers' trust, like, or the way that they connect with your brand? Like, do they notice that it is this specifically for the brand? Do they care actually about, oh, this clothing actually also comes from a better way, let's say, of getting all the materials and designs and so on?
Yeah, definitely they care. Um, some users would not care and would not be willing to pay for it, but those who make business with me, they care, and they care a lot. They're happy that I can provide the data behind the production. For example, saying this T-shirt saves 200,000 liters of water. That's a imaginary number. It's not that much, but maybe 2,000 liters could vary. So each time I have a customer and they make an order, I actually give them a climate certificate saying how much water, how much CO2 their whole order has saved. And my customers are very happy about it. They put it up in their office or their waiting room if they are consult, so that their customers can see it, and they can tell that they take responsibility. So it is an argument for sales as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we can see that basically circularity really matters, and because it's in the heart of, I think it's in the heart of the business owners, basically, or the founders who basically made the decision to make something a bit differently than the status quo. And for many startups, especially I think in the fashion industry, it would be very tempting to just follow this typical path of kind of least resistance, if we can call it like that. That it's a bit easier to make things, especially from the beginning. You just get this fast production, cheap materials, and just don't worry about sustainability. Or maybe I'll worry about it when I make a few millions and kind of greenwash something.
Yeah.
But I think what we're learning now is that if circular thinking isn't part of the foundation or from the beginning, it's much harder and more expensive, I think, to fix it later on.
Yeah, and it won't give you as much of you can say loyalty or trust from your customers, because they would know that you're not founded on these principles, and you have done such and such harm before you started doing some good. So definitely make it part of your story, and until that it's within the brand values. It's not just because it's popular. It's something from you.
Yeah, for sure. We mentioned a bit about like models, like you start talking about like linear and circular models, and maybe I have to kind of take a step back and just look into like how most businesses still operate, unfortunately, to be honest. Nowadays, especially in fashion, we see that a lot. I can just give a few words, like just to explain, like if we have participants who are not clear with what we are referring to, these linear and circular models that we talk about with Elias. But the linear model is basically very simple. Like you take, you make, and you dispose. Like you extract the raw materials, let's say you manufacture something, a product with them, in this case, let's say clothing. And then after this being used, you just throw it away and usually end up in a landfill or incineration, basically. This might be efficient in the sense of on the surface, it kind of looks like, but it's extremely wasteful. And for a lot of industries, especially like fashion, it really contributes massively to pollution and overproduction, and of course has a lot of impact on the climate as well. The circular model, on the other hand, it offers a bit of different approach. We kind of ask a different question from the beginning, which is like, what if waste isn't actually the end of, let's say, this cycle, but it's actually the beginning of something new, right? So instead of one-way chain, we actually make kind of like a loop where we reuse, repair, or recycle somehow this end product. So it's not the end, but we keep using it again and again. So we lower our impact on the environment, waste, and so on. It's not only about being green, it's also about creating this like long-term value, reducing the dependency on this like new raw virgin materials, and basically future-proofing your business as well at some points. We often think of fashion, especially as a fast and linear industry, but it just doesn't have to be. I think what Elias is exactly showing with your brands that challenges these models in a very practical also way. So maybe if you can take us, tell us a bit more about how you exactly applied like this thinking of circularity in the design and the production that you do
Yeah.
in your company.
So I needed to find the materials. What should be recycled? What can I work with? And I tried for our very first production. I had a donation of 300 kilos of clothing from a collector called Trasborg. It's the containers you see from Røde Kors and Red Barnet and so on, and they collect. They're the biggest collector in Scandinavian. So they had lots of clothing and made a nice donation, and I put the 300 kilos inside my little apartment, and with some friends we started to sort the materials out. Um, Cotton blue goes here, cotton red goes here, and this is for where the materials are mixed. We learned lots of things. I have no background in clothing, so everything was new, and it was just nice to get it in my hands. And then we found a school. It was called Produktionsskole, where basically young people can go and learn how to maybe do clothing, maybe uh, do more practical things. And they made our first 50 t-shirts, and so they were made here in Denmark. And then I just tried to put up a website and sold it to mostly my friends, because 50 pieces is not that much, but it kind of gave me the idea. I could see how everything could work, and then the uh, real thinking could start when I had to scale it up, because in order to do a real and new clothing and have a great quality, I needed to find another manufacturing uh, process than the school. I need more volume, and I needed more speed in the production. So that was when I took to Portugal and tried to show them how the process has worked on the school, and asked them if they could work with the materials I had from Trasborg. And this clothing was very different. It was some of it was new, some of it was very used, and it took a long time to sort it out. So when I came home from Portugal and every manufacturer had said, no, we can't work with you, uh, I had basically to start from the beginning. I needed to find materials that was better for them, and also come up with a concept that they could do. And then I found industrial laundry, and found out that industrial laundries all over Europe actually has lots of clothing that is unused, but it's still discarded, because an industrial laundry own lots of clothing, and when their customer decides we need another color, or we need this change, basically it's the industrial laundry's problem to get rid of the clothing. And for me, that meant I could have just donations of great quality clothing unused. And the good thing for me was that every piece was the same. I did not had to sort everything out. I did not had to read the little care label to see which consumption are this material. So that made so much more sense um, in order to get production up and running. In Portugal, I found a manufacturer that could work with these materials because all of them were the same. And that's basically how the whole model, the whole circle came to an end, because I found the right materials and the right manufacturer.
Okay, I see. Wow. So I guess like you also managed to kind of like have first proof of concept, if we can call it like that, in the beginning with just starting smaller with 50 or
Yeah.
so t-shirts yourself. You see it actually works. I think that's
Mm.
a very valid point and something very important to note here, especially for startups, because sometimes we just need to sometimes I think in the beginning we overthink it and we think that, oh, we need to start great and big and like scale from day one. But actually, it's better if we have like a smaller project, prove the concept, see that it actually works on a smaller scale, and then try to figure out all the logistics and how to make it a bigger model as well.
Mm. Yeah, that was a good thing for me because then I sort of know how everything works. And actually, also, I was so lucky that a journalist talked about it in the media,
Okay.
and some guys found it and was ready to invest. So it just made everything easier with a little bit of promotion and the capital to sort of come the first way.
Oh wow. Okay. So I guess yeah, that also helps. But I think that also when you have like a model or a cause, like when which has more like also social standing basically, or like helping the environment,
Mm.
in that case, or like making things a bit differently, it will be also easier because a lot of times people just have to see like that they align kind of with the values of your brand as well to be able to
Mm.
invest in it as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good story for everyone.
Yeah. Ah,
Yeah.
sounds great.
Mm.
Perfect. Well, we started a bit talking about like why this circularity also like actually matters, like why what are the benefits that stands behind it. And when we talk about circularity, it's again like it's just not about being green, what we talk about, but like more building smarter business from the get-go. I think that it can also lead to lower costs, to stronger loyalty, recognition, also have more potential investors and so on, and access to even sustainability funding, because there's quite a lot of this one as well. So I think that maybe it also can help your brands be more ready for the future, because we know that regulations will tighten with time more and more, and consumers will be more and more demanding with brands for responsibility for the environment and the waste production of companies, and just to be more cautious of that and have less waste. So we have to find kind of like this balance between making it sustainable and of course making sure that it's also financially sustainable for the companies from the get-go. But definitely like it could be cost saving because we can reuse materials. Maybe we can think of alternative ways of materials that could have been otherwise gone to waste. So maybe we can find kind of a symbiosis with different businesses, that maybe we can use the end product in a way of their model and use it as our or as our material. So this will also lower the costs instead of us actually going raw and buying new products. Obviously, it will have impact positive on the climate because we'll reduce the emissions, we reduce also the waste, and so on. There is innovation into it because it encourages also this creative thinking, like asking different questions, think how we can make things differently as well, and have different maybe even models of how you monetize your business later on. Elias talked about that it also builds trust because you're responsible, but also transparent, like how you do things. And this is the things that actually people look for to become loyal customers and follow brands nowadays. And last but not least, especially definitely future proofing, because as I said, a lot of the regulations keep changing, and we see that more and more it is towards being more strict and more specific, and trying to make brands to be more cautious with how much waste they have, and actually having given out to account for most companies as a must in a lot of EU countries as well. So that will definitely be coming. So it will be good to have it from the get-go. But Elias, like you have built basically your company from the get-go around this principles. Like, can you maybe share with us like how this circular business has also benefited you, maybe in cost or creativity or the customer perception, or maybe investment or other opportunity that you've seen just because of having this model from even as a startup?
Yeah. About the cost for the product clothing, I would just be completely honest and start out saying it has not been cost saving for me. in making the clothing, because it takes it's another way of thinking, and for now it just has more steps than the linear model. But still, other circular ways of doing things within my business has been cost saving. Just not the clothing part yet, but and a good example of how it has been cost saving is with the hangers that the clothing is on, because in shops, retail, when, for example, a designer shop gets new jackets, when the jackets are shipped to the shop, they are on a hanger, typically a plastic hanger with shoulders, so that the jacket don't fold, and so a good hanger. But the first thing the shop does when they open their boxes is to throw out all of the hangers, because they have their own hangers, with their own name and such, so everything matches in the shop. But for me, then I made a partnership, or different partnerships with the different shops here in Aalborg, where instead of they are throwing the hangers in the trash, I get them for free. So of course that saves me money, because I don't have to go and buy my own hangers, and I know that these hangers are discarded. They are about to go in the trash. So it's a good way to make sure we don't just throw out plastic. That is also the same case with paper. At Christmas, I do lots of gifts, and so the whole year I collect paper from shops, because some brands don't use boxes. They use like thick paper to ship their products in, and therefore the shops also have very high quality paper sometimes, which they save for me, so that I can use them. And the same with the small plastic bags. The transparent plastic bags is typically around each new T-shirt they get, and they are not around my T-shirts. But in some cases, it could be nice, and therefore also I get these from small businesses around town, so I can pack up my stuff, and it's for free, all of it, and um, of course it reduce emissions, because I don't buy new plastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you made like two very interesting points here. First is that you mentioned that, of course, like maybe the actual raw material kind of that you use now, like the reused material, might be a bit more expensive than if you just went for the, let's say, cheap linear option, right? But
Yeah.
like when you think about this, also puts your brand in a different kind of bracket, because you're already not this fast fashion that it's the cheap one. But maybe if we actually look at it as aligned with other more, let's say, luxury brands, then it's still not that expensive when you think about, because it's also the value that is in the clothes that they bring to people. So I think it's also like also really just depends like how you see it in this sense.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and then also the other thing that you're talking about is that it doesn't have to be only directly like the
No.
product maybe themselves, but it could be so many different things. And I think that just comes back to mindset, because if you have it in your mind that how do we make things differently, and how we can use this kind of mindset in every aspect of how we use materials and like how we do business, even in your own office, like make some different changes just to incorporate those principles. I think that's you'll find definitely, of course, more effective ways to do things, more cost efficient ways, and of course, way better for the environment as well. And we can transfer those to your customers later on, I think, as well, which will be something that they'll align with. Great. Well, although we know that there are a lot of benefits of circularity, it's very clear, like cost saving, innovation. There's trust from the customers. But although we have those quite a lot of benefits, we still see that most startups, unfortunately, are, at least at the beginning, aren't aligned with those circular models, or at least they don't have them in mind, right? So we'll ask, like, why is that happening? And I think that in many cases it's not the lack of interest, but it's more like there's like set of assumptions that I've seen also with a lot of the startups that we work with, that they have like this misconceptions of that holds kind of the founders back a bit in implementing those different strategies. We can look at, I have listed here a few that maybe we can look into, kind of like myths almost about circular business models that I have heard, and hopefully we can debunk all of them one by one. One thing that we hear a lot is that, oh, it's not for me because it's mostly for big companies. I'm not there, like have them, they have the millions to spend on being green and so on. It's not for a startup. I think that maybe that's one that most of us have heard about. Really many believe that it's just for large corporations with big budgets that they can learn and do that. But Ella, I don't know, like what do you think? Like, what do you say to new founders who think it's just for the bigger luxury brands and it's not for startups to have from the beginning?
I would, of course, say no. Both when you are viewing your own product and try to develop how it should be made, I would say there start with the circular way, because your future customers are gonna demand it and they're gonna ask about what are your considerations. So start there.
Mhm.
And also, I would say for small companies who are not necessarily startups, not new companies, it can also be a very good thing to tap into some of the restaurants or cafes that I sell workwear to. They don't. They have a hard time changing up their whole business model to go circular. So for them, a good way to start is to think about what do they use, and workwear is one of the things they use. And for them to, for example, just buy it from me,
Mhm.
is a way to start small with a circular mindset, and tell their customers that the clothing we are using is circular. And then the next thing they can take a look at is maybe something like inside the kitchen, or the cups they serve their coffee. Do they need to uh, be just thrown out afterwards, or can we maybe make a loyalty cup? And then they can just start small, and that's a good alternative. And sometimes it actually is easier when you are a small company, because when you're a big company, it's it's very big things, and everything just needs to change. So I would actually say the other way. It's if you are imagining a ship trying to turn around, it takes long time for a big ship to turn around, but for a small boat, it's just whoops, and then you start by one thing, and then the other, and then you go on.
Yeah, I think that's a great metaphor. And in general, like it's just one of the actual benefits of startups is that because they're smaller, they're more flexible, they're easy to make changes. Rather, when you have like 1,000 people corporation to change something, you need like so many systems and everything else to be changed. So that's true. Like you can just start small and change from the beginning, and it makes it easier as well. Thank you very much for that. It's we have another one that I think we kind of debunked that already, that it's too expensive. So we see that it's obviously doesn't have to be, and it actually could be even cheaper. I kind of like that one a lot, that recycled materials, a lot of people think that it's just, then it's just lower quality.
Mm.
People assume that it's because reused or recycled means that it's weaker, it's less stylish, or it's just not desirable, like not that good for them. So have you ever had to maybe challenge kind of this assumption around the quality when you use recycled materials in your work?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something that needs to turn around in the head, because we talk about it as secondhand, and within that we say it is yeah, lower quality. And I think it's just a habit in us, in me, and in you, because that is what we have learned, that new is good, new is better than what we used to have. So it's sort of a mindset that needs to flip around, and we need to have great experiences with recycled materials. And actually, that's one of the things in the name koala. It's from the koala, the animal from Australia, but I have spelled it with Q instead of a K. And that's because I really care about quality. I want to give people a great experience when they're trying recycled my materials. It's very important. So the Q is from quality, and I think that's just really important, both when you go recycled and actually in everything else also, because if the material is good quality, then it will last long, um, and that's just very good for the planet, because when we make things, it takes resources no matter what. So why not make it in good quality so we can use it for a long time?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think also like it's very like smart wordplay, I would say, for the name, but also really shows like what basically you stand for.
Mm.
Yes, thank you for that. We have like some other let's say myths, and of course these are not the only ones. Like we probably can come up with a few suggestions if some of you have other assumptions kind of that you've heard from other people, or maybe even if you had your self before, you can also share with us in the chat. But we've heard that circularity means only recycling some of the things, and that's it. And we've saw that it's not the case. Like it could be way other things like business models, logistics, and so on that could be changed in the way that we see and use and think about things. And the last year we had is that the customers don't really care. I think that's this one we've heard about quite a lot, maybe, but in the last 5 to 10 years, I think that these are opinions that quite change. And even if the data also shows that that's quite the opposite, because people more and more look into what brand stands for, like what is behind the materials, like how are they actually procured, like where they're taken from, like what's the process, how they even transported from one place to another, and the whole model of the brand. So people more and more are actually looking into those. I would say that these are definitely, hopefully, myths now from the past. So more and more startups should try to kind of ignore those way of thinking in a sense, and try to have sustainability from day one. We talk a bit about the designs and smart materials. So I think like these are the two things definitely that are kind of cornerstones of your brand for sure, and in fashion in general. The designing, kind of starting with the design for reuse, I think it means that we're building products and systems that expects to be used again. So we do it from even the design stage. And then in fashion, it could also mean that we have like either modular pieces or easy to repair stitching, or maybe using some other standardized components that later on can be again reused and reused. I think it also extends beyond the product, where we think of this like refillable packaging in cosmetics, or reusable bags for shipping and e-commerce and so on. So it could be very different things, and we can plan. And of course, design is only one part of the equation. It's also important to think about like how things and the materials that we use and how things are built in total. And so we're seeing that's incredible process, I think, like progress, in different alternatives. We've seen like compostable biopackaging in textiles, and upcycled materials as well in a lot of other things. So we can see that there's so many new, in a sense, options popping up in the last, I would say, 5-10 years for sure. And then could be a bit overwhelming, I would say, for new companies, for sure. So it could be, there's like too many options now to choose from, let's say, in that sense, or like knowing what is really green and what is good and what is actually just like greenwashing, for example. Maybe Elias, you can share like what were some of the favorite sustainable materials, let's say right now, that you're using, and how did you get to select them for your brand?
Yeah. So the important thing is to sort of understand the whole production line, from raw material um, to putting the fiber together, to sewing the clothing, and also the end user, because you can't make decisions in just one of them, because they will always affect each other. So for example, the t-shirt that is down here with the paddles,
Mhm.
um, when I make that t-shirt, the materials are um, cotton and polyester together, because when those are together, it's very hard to separate them, to pull them apart, and therefore we can't recycle. When we recycle, we need to pull them apart and then make, for example, polyester from plastic bottles, and cotton fiber from discarded cotton clothing. But when we have a fiber where they're already put together, it's hard to separate them. So that's why this t-shirt is a very good way to then upcycle instead of recycle. So basically, upcycling is when we give the material a high value. So they came from being discarded to being a new product. And that's when we cut out the fabric just as it is, and then put it together directly. There's no need for pulling it all apart. And what I said in the beginning, we need to understand each step, and we need to understand the final customer. A good way to do it is this in that case. But in another case, if you have cotton t-shirts that is worn out and discarded, a good idea could be to separate the materials and then spin it up again, put it into a fiber, and then make a new t-shirt from the fiber. So in that case, you won't have the petals showing the story, but you would have a good t-shirt. And a good thing here in the new t-shirt could be to mix the materials with new cotton. Organic is great, but mix it with new cotton, because then the fiber will get strong and it will last long. And it's very important again that the quality is good, and that the end product is a strong product that would last several wash and years, also in use, not just on the paper. So I would say, in general, just keep the whole production line in mind, and also the end customer, because
Mhm.
if you are selling to a kitchen, you need to be aware that you can make a very sustainable t-shirt, but if the t-shirt will not last wash at 90 degrees, it's not sustainable, because then you haven't thought everything through, and the kitchen would use it one time, and then they would need to discard it because it doesn't align with their needs. So it's definitely as important as the production is to understand your customer and make a product that is a good fit for their needs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And also in general, when we think about like the design of the products, right? Just to make sure that since day one, like the way that we designed them, they can actually be easily reused. Like even if it's not us that takes them and reuse them for something else, like if we're selling those materials to be reused later on, because this could also be additional income even for your business, instead of having to just, as I said, so many businesses are actually just discarding those and just throwing them in the landfill. And instead of, like, if they're just made a bit more smarter, there will be more market for them to be reused again and again. So this could be an additional income, basically, instead of just literally throwing money and resources away. Yeah, so we looked at that. There are some common challenges for sure. We mentioned some of those ones that could be the higher production cost, or like the limited access maybe to sustainable materials. It could be that maybe we need to kind of educate also with our suppliers and partners, customers, about the models and circularity in general. And we need to try to keep the balance, especially within startups, between sustainability and scalability, and how our business grows with it. But I think also that there's quite a lot of supports, especially for this type of businesses, because we've seen that there's so many grants and different programs, both national here in Denmark, but also EU funding for green businesses, for innovative businesses and sustainable ones. So that's definitely also, I think, kind of like a bonus incentive, if we can call it like that, for startups, because they get access to extra funding, also mentorship. There's a lot of entrepreneurial networks and incubators and accelerators that they can be part of and get more and more information. I would say those type of businesses will also get, on average, access to more partnerships and collaborations because of the additional cost that they have, and like a lot of those potential investors maybe will align with the values of this brand. And last but not least, definitely the community building aspect of it, because you have a lot of peer support for these sustainable hubs, and like also kind of like-minded people, basically, who will also be potentially your customers as well. I don't know, like, if you could maybe, what advice maybe you would give to someone who, especially a newcomer from Ukraine, let's say, who an entrepreneur here in Denmark who wants to build a circular business model from scratch. Like, do you have like any advice or like tips for them, like what they have to keep in mind, or like maybe what were 1, 2 things that you wish you knew when you were starting?
It's a very good thing you mentioned the support system, because it can definitely help, both with the finances, but also just that you don't use your money wasteful. So yeah, the startup club in here in Aalborg Vestbyen is a good place to go. They can tell you several things about sales, marketing, but also about support systems, and just sort of guide you in every aspect. Also taxes and all the boring stuff, but also important stuff that you just really don't want to be a headache for yourself. So just give yourself a head start by understanding it. Um, and then I would say my greatest advice would be to get it in your hands as soon as possible, because when you have it in your hands, you will understand your partners better, the one that is going to make your product, and you will also be able to tell your customers more things about how it works when you have had it in your hands yourself. And also you'll be able to tell fun stories, because it's part of being an entrepreneur. It's doing the hard work sometimes, but also uh, just really putting in the stepping stones, the foundation. That's when things take some weird turns sometimes, and that is also what is funny to talk with your customers about 5 years later or 2 months later, because it's all just part of the struggle, and it's just about embracing that, really, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true for sure. And talking about like the past and future. Like we also need to look into like what will be next, or like looking ahead, like what's next in circularity for businesses and startups. Like we've looked at the present challenges and the practical strategies, if we can call them that, but what the future looks like. It's not a trend. Circularity is shaping the way of how industries and like how business is done. And especially in fashion, we can see that it's evolving. There's of course like this growing momentum around the circular business models. It's not just like a niche brands now, but I can see that more and more across the industries, and bigger brands are embracing that. I think a lot of this has to do with also the governments, and how they're introducing different regulations, and basically being demanding of brands to take those things into consideration and take responsibility for the way that they're conducting business, and all the materials and the ways that they're producing. And on the other hand, I think it is also about the consumers, because they're more and more cautious than ever. I think like it's also kind of back and forth between also the pioneering brands, let's say, to kind of educate their consumers of what they need to be mindful of, and be more demanding of them and other brands as well. But I think circularity, and I really hope also, to be honest, that circularity will become the norm of how we do business. We have to keep pushing forward for this, and don't lose the focus on impact that every brand and business that we make actually has. But how do you see it? Where do you see this like circular business models like heading, especially in the fashion industry? Like, do you see some trends? Like, what is your vision for the future? Do you see like that more and more companies are aligning with that, or do you think that there will be something else and even better that we have to look into and put our focus on for the future?
I definitely think more businesses are looking into it, and I see very different ways of doing it within fashion for private people. I see brands make it, yeah, a part of their DNA, but also the design, where it's you can't unsee it. For example, they mix up half a shirt maybe with a polo, so that it's very in the eyes of the customers that those two are put together. And I think it's great that you both can do that, so you can kind of sell the circular to one that's proud about it. But you can also do maybe just example is the t-shirt I'm wearing.
Mhm.
Nobody would when they pass by say, oh, that's definitely recycled or upcycled.
Yeah.
So I like to see that both products has its place on the market. um,
Mhm.
and a thing that I am looking very much forward to is more regulations, because today I can say that my T-shirt is 100% upcycled, if it is so. But I can't really say how much water it saves compared to original T-shirt. Um, so it's just for me, a textile nerd. It would be nice if actually the government demanded more data. uh, we see if the food in our kitchen, each time we take up a bottle and turn it around, we see how many calories, we see salt, we see protein. Everything is just laid out, and it's hard to do the same thing in fashion. But
Mhm.
it would be nice to kind of demand more, because then it would be easier to be the customer. Then you would be able to take two t-shirts and see which one is actually better for the environment. Because today, even for me, it's hard. You really have to know the stuff. You really have to know the whole production line, and you don't always do that if you are not the one having produced the t-shirt. So I'm looking forward to more regulations, not necessarily a law that says you can't put this on the market if it's not made that way, but maybe more regulation that says you need to provide your customer with these kind of data, because then it would be easier for all of us to trust brands and simply just make a decision that we know is for the better, that we not just feel is for the better. Because today I think it's still very easy to make something look good that is not good for the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Thinking that that's a great point. I think also that if we have more data and slightly more at least regulation or at least transparency or what it is, it will be also easier for people to make these educated choices and be able to say what is actually better and what just looks like it is better for us. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I can see that we have, before we wrap up, we can see that we have a few questions, very good questions actually from Benny. For example, in the chat is asking if you can tell us a bit more about how you make it work for your business model, as in form of a circular perspective. Like how did it actually work, I guess, from a financial sense also of being a circular model.
Yeah. So the clothing from the industrial laundry I get for free. Their alternative is to give money for their clothing to be burned. And of course, they don't want that. Then they would rather actually they transport it to me for free, and then I say thank you, and I use it for making new clothing, and then in return they get a good story for the CSR, ESG, basically their green business profile. They can tell we help these materials to not get discarded and to not end up as landfills, and we do it with this trusted partner, would be me. So yeah, that's how it works. Then when I get the clothing, it gets transported to Portugal, where they cut off the clothing and then put it into these panels that is decided regards to which design they should collaborate in. And then they sew up the new t-shirts and send it back. And then for the whole production, I have had made a LCA report analysis that tells about um, how much energy, how much water does this whole process take, and how much does it save compared to a t-shirt that is made the traditional way. So some benchmarks in the industry. Um, yeah, so that's basically how the circular thing work, and how I provide the data for my customers.
Yeah, great.
Thank
And
you for the question. Yeah.
can you also tell us very, very short, maybe like we have
Mhm.
another question of before we go over time, what are some of the ways that you engage your customers on conversation about sustainability? And if you have like any community work, or is it like groups, or like how do you kind of send the message out? I guess is the question.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I try to first of all understand my customer very well. Uh, I always prefer a meeting physical or like this, where we just talk about what is important at your uh, business.
Mhm.
What do you care about? What do your customers care about? So in that way, I understand my customer, and then try to also see which product would make sense for you. And of course, I don't have any products in my catalog that is not somehow recycled, upcycled. Uh, so it's the conversation is always which product would you be happy about, which product would you use, and the sustainable part is always just simple, because I don't have products which are not sustainable, or which are made from entirely new materials. And then also to mention it again, the climate certificate I gave when I deliver an order. So that's a way that they have the data visible for their customers and themselves, as a little shoulder clap for their nice work.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elias. And also thank you, Benny, for this question. Do you have any other questions? Anyone else would like to ask something before we wrap it up for today? You can just either unmute yourself or raise your hand, or you can also just write in the chat as well. Just let us know. I think we covered quite a lot. And of course, we only have 60 minutes, so we're trying to squeeze as much as possible. But our aim here is also just to open up the conversation and cover this topic as much as possible, and just have you thinking about like how can you also implement those things, and to see that it's actually doable for startups from day one. And it doesn't have to be like this major and big thing, but actually having like some even smaller parts from your business, and like different lines that you have will make it possible. If we don't have any other questions, I would really like to thank, of course, first Elias for sharing this insight and challenges and practical experiences with us today. It was really nice having you, and I think it's very clear that circularity isn't just a trend, and it's here to stay, and it's about sustainability, but it's also about building resilience and just being creative and just changing the mindset. We can see it in the owners, and make businesses that truly last as well. It can also help us optimize the costs, being very also let's say creative with where our materials come for, and so on. So we have a question from Tatiana. Yes, you can just unmute yourself.
Hi, excuse me, I'm so sorry, maybe my English not very well. I try understanding what do you say. I understand you saw material made t-shirt in Portugal. Why? Because in Denmark have high tax, and if you pay salary people, you will be cost too much. Why I hear Portugal.
Yeah,
Yes, that's a good question.
yeah, it was a good question. I actually really wanted to do it in Denmark, and as I mentioned, I started out here in Denmark, but simply at the time, and at my experience, I couldn't make it in Denmark. I went down to Herning Ikast area, where we used to have some textile industry in Denmark. JBS is still there, and other companies which I met up with, and who told me how I could do it. But when everything came down to it, it was not workable the way I wanted the volume and the quality to be, and also the prices, because in Denmark we have a very high salary. So simply I needed, in order to spread out and make sustainability available, I think the prices cannot be too high. Of course, you have a good product, so it should cost something, and at a fair price. But it would not be available at a great price, and it would not be doable in the very tough market which clothing is, and especially also workwear clothing. It goes a lot about the prices, and when you make something circular, you are a bit higher in the prices already. So I found Portugal a good place. It's still within Europe, and yeah, they are very good at doing the handcrafting work, and still at great prices. Thank you for the question also. Nice.
Yes, because this is maybe my weak place. I have education in Ukraine, modern designer. When I come in Denmark, I try found work. Only many designers say me, "Oh, Tatiana, I need you. Only I don't have money pay for you salary because in Denmark very high tax."
Yeah,
Yes, I
see the
understand.
issue. Yeah,
Yes. And I understand, unfortunately, in Denmark don't have tax discounts if we use it second materials. Yes, we don't have
no, there's no
discount.
discount when you have like a business and you sell it. Yeah, it goes with the, I don't know how you would say,
Mm.
but yeah, tax. The buyer's tax, that's 25 percentage. It's the same, no matter how you made it from which materials.
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, and I would like if you give me advance. I dreams my no so thin clothes
Mhm.
from second use it second and where the best if I show this clothes marketplace Facebook or maybe
Mm.
where you people usually see this is clothes can found.
I mean, if you wanna start up a business,
Yes.
yeah,
No, little business, business.
yeah,
Hobby mix.
okay, yeah. I would say make an Instagram on
Mhm,
the clothing, maybe Pinterest also. I'm not a user too much of Pinterest, but I know a lot of people is.
Mhm.
So definitely try to make up an account just for that, and make your friends follow it and help you share it, and then yeah, it's do some videos where you make it, and then
mhm.
it will get views, and yeah, yeah, it would could be a sales channel for you. I would say that's more professional, and I believe you can get a higher and more fair price than if you put it on marketplace. That would be my take.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Because I dreams about this.
Mm,
No man, I want you try. Maybe my vision. I hope my vision will stay fashion.
yeah,
And I next type I open more company. Don't only hobby mix.
yeah,
Thank you very much. For me, it was very interesting.
nice.
Your
Thank you.
advances.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Tatiana. That's great questions. Also, like I hope that soon you can also share some links to your company and we can see it growing. Like, yeah, as you say, like it could start as a even hobby business, and once you build momentum, you can have the proof of concept as we talked with Elias, and then become even bigger one later on. I would like to thank you, of course, Elias, again, like for all the contributions and all the insights, and thank everyone also to who joined us today live. We hope that you're leaving with a fresh idea and at least one action that you can take even this week, just to make your business and the way you conduct yourself a bit more circular and more responsible as well. If you want to learn more about Elias also and Koala with Q, check out their work at koala.dk, and of course you have to please stay tuned for more of the Boost Up webinars. We have 2 more this week, one on Friday, one on Saturday. So please make sure that you can also join us for it. So those ones, we would like to, again, spark the interest and discuss these very important topics for startups and sustainability for sure as well. So thank you very much, everyone, again, and I wish you.
And excuse me, so last question. Can you, Alice, send your site? A very interesting C model. No,
Yeah,
yeah, model. What do you saw? Very interesting.
thank
I'll just
you.
put it down in the chat. You should be.
You're faster than me. Yeah, great.
Yeah, exactly. So you have it there, so you can see it also in the chat. So you can also follow Elias online in social media and just see what different models and designs and overall the whole brand and what they stand for. It's really I would say like a very model brand, and I think that I'm very happy myself that I'm actually managed to even see it in person and met Elias, and I think that's he shared a lot of valuable insights for us. So thank you again.
And big thank you to you, Cici and Elias, for the great insights and inspiration.